This is Super 1, the British Karting Championships, Round 9.
The 2016 Junior Rotax season at Super 1 closes out now here at PF International. Rory Hudson and John Hoggart on the front row of the grid. Pettit and Foster, Kimber and Turney, Apps and Kilner, Chesterton and Hunter rounding out the top 10. In 11th position leading the charge, it's Jensen Brown alongside Bradley Barrett with Munro, Edmund, Smith, Thompson, Hepworth and Lamport in chase. So through they come for the final time. Who's going to get the last win of 2016? Is it going to be John Hoggart or is it going to be our pole sitter? Now, don't forget, of course, Joe Turney needs to be in 7th position or better to wrap up the championship title. So it is going down to the wire. John Hoggart needs to win with Turney less than 8th to win the championship on countback. So it's going to be a really exciting battle here. John Hoggart going for victory. Joe Turney just trying to get those points banked.
Yeah, Joe Turney in amongst it though. He's further back than he would like. He'd like to be out front and clear of any problems, but he's right in the middle of the pack. That's not really where he wants to be as the karts come through the second hairpin. Everybody's through safely. That's Hudson and Pettit. The superhero Green Hornet, remember that? These are the green helmets, the superheroes out front.
And absolutely, Joe Turney is actually knocking on the door of the very minimum he can afford to be in. I think he's in 7th position at the moment with Hudson leading in front of the O-plate. William Pettit now into 2nd position and Hoggart in 3rd. So at the moment, Hoggart isn't where he needs to be either. As here comes Pettit up the inside. He takes the lead. Hoggart goes with. So through they go. Now that's how the points currently stand with Hoggart running 2nd and Turney running 7th. Turney would win the championship by just 3 points. So John Hoggart really needs to find another place at least and hope that Joe Turney drops back 2 places to 9th.
John Hoggart in exactly the position Carl Sproat was in the last race. He basically needs to win the race and hope that events go his way.
Miles Apps making a move on Mark Kimber, and that puts him up into 4th position. He won the Kartmasters Grand Prix 2 months ago, don't forget, on this very track. So this is a place he knows incredibly well. Pettit leads though, Hoggart 2nd, Hudson 3rd. Then, as we know, it is the GP plate Apps in front of Kimber, and in 6th position, that looks to me to be Tommy Foster, the 53, my favourite number. Yes, okay, I'm a love bug freak, I can't help it. Through the final chicane. And it looks to me as though John Hoggart's looking a little bit closer to the O-plate this time, although Turney is not as close to that leading 6 as he would like. Look, he's right in the mix of it in 7th position, getting a lot of pressure at the moment.
Yeah, Joe Turney in 7th, that is not where he wants to be. It's where he needs to be to win the championship, but to be honest, he's got people right behind him and they could easily drop him to 9th in a heartbeat.
Well, never mind that because Hoggart's down to 4th place. Hoggart's down to 4th. Here comes Apps up to 2nd position and Hoggart's trying desperately to get himself back into the top 3 because that is Hudson in front of him. Hudson now goes for 2nd. Hoggart's going to try and go with him and contact with Miles Apps. Oh, this is a difficult one. He's got himself into a situation here where he could potentially get caught out by the stewards. Let's watch again. Has he got something to be blamed for here? He goes for the inside.
He's the one doing the overtaking. He's responsible to do it cleanly.
Oh, no, there's too much contact there for me.
Front wheel to rear wheel. And if that has been seen, there's going to be a penalty of some description, I'm sure.
Well, that is not what John Hoggart needed in the championship fight. And if that has been spotted, and Miles Apps knows he feels grieved. And there it is. Look, he's under investigation. And unfortunately, I kind of have to agree with the officials on that one.
Front wheel to rear wheel contact, that will always be penalised if it's been seen, and the fact that the officials are on the radio and it's been reported by the driving standards observer and they are judges of fact, if that's been seen, that could easily be, well, it could be a place penalty, or but the fact that he's spun him round and he's dropped right down the field, that suggests to me that's a potential exclusion from the race, and that could be not only his championship over, Jake, but that could be a ticket to the World Finals out of his hands. He could lose the ticket to the World Championship Finals.
Yeah, John Hoggart has actually dropped back to, I think it's now 5th position as a result of that little incident. And guess who's right behind him? 96, Joe Turney. So that is absolutely fine. No, Hoggart is 6th position. And look back, we'll see Joe Turney emerging. There he is in 7th position, exactly where he needs to be. So this has all gone wrong for Hoggart. He's not going to get a chance to even win at this point. That battle is going to be between Pettit and Hudson, and they are far, running away from the rest of the pack out in front. Hoggard has just seen his championship chances evaporate.
Yeah, he's, where is he, John Hoggard?
6th place.
6th place, that's not good enough, nowhere near good enough. And it's going to be a problem for him, even if he gets up the field. There he is. In fact, he was 6th, you're right, Jake, and he's now through to 5th place, but that's nowhere near what he needs.
Yep.
And that's assuming he doesn't get penalised for that incident. And the fact that the officials have gone straight onto the radio to report the incident suggests to me there will be some sort of penalty. And unfortunately for Jonathan Hoggard, it could not only mean he loses his chance to win the championship, and at the moment that's an outside bet, but he would have been at least hoping to go to the World Championships by qualifying in, I think the top 2 get tickets. If he gets penalised for that, he could end up outside the top 2 and lose his ticket to the World Finals.
That's such a disappointment if that is going to be the case. He manages to get back past Tommy Foster and move into P4. The next man to go for is Tyler Chesterton, who's worked his way very calmly, it has to be said, into 3rd position. He's just been very sensible, read the situations around him, read the contact with Hoggard and Apps, and put himself very neatly into 3rd position, almost completely unnoticed. He is there in P3 doing a great job to lead the pack, trying to close up on Pettit and Hudson up front. Chesterton 3rd, Hoggard, then it is Foster, 6th place Kimber, and then it is Turney, looking very, very good for the championship now.
Yeah, Turney will be able to see John Hoggard in front of him, so he will know now, although 7th is what he needs for the championship. He wouldn't have been comfortable in 7th, but he'll be reasonably comfortable in 7th now, because he'll see the Thule Motorsport superheroes, the green helmets out front. Here they are.
Here goes Hudson.
And here's Hudson for the lead. And Joe Turney will know that they have a comfortable lead. He'll just be hoping that they don't take each other off, and he'll know, of course, that they're also teammates. So that is very, very unlikely. They'll both individually want to win the race, but the one thing they won't want to do is take their compatriot off as Hoggard goes through to 3rd place, but that's nowhere near enough.
And that's assuming he doesn't get a penalty. 3rd place still isn't enough. If I'm Joe Turney, I'm just going to keep on driving around. I'm not going to worry too much about getting involved in an incident. Even if the guy behind me gets past, I'm not going to be too worried, especially with these 2 out in front. Although, of course, now that Hoggard is into 3rd position, Turney also has to keep at the back of his mind the possibility that those 2 may tangle and Hoggard can get through. But the very likelihood of that happening is if those 2 do tangle, Hoggard might not be the only one that gets through. All of them might get through, and that would still promote Turney into, from 7th, 5th position. That would still be enough to win the title.
Exactly right, exactly right. If that did happen, he's still in the right position as Chesterton makes a move.
Yeah, he dropped back behind both Foster and Kimber, but he's made his way back past Mark Kimber, the 47, who drops to 6th position. The 2 leaders out in front. Turney controlling the pack in 7th position. And that is where he needs to be to win the championship, especially with Hoggard in only 3rd. And this is going to be a pretty easy run to the championship for Joe Turney by the look of things. And not the least because, unfortunately, John Hoggard, it's difficult to say that he took Miles Apps out of the race because he's a championship driver going for the title. He needed to go for the gap. He knew he had to win the race, and he knew that Turney was a long way down. So perhaps he just let the opportunity and the eagerness of the situation get the better of him.
Yeah, he's got to go for it. He's a racing driver, as you say. And listen, I'll be the first to say that is not deliberate. He did not do that deliberately. However, as we see a change for the lead, however, if you're the one doing the overtaking, it doesn't matter whether it's deliberate or not. If you take someone out with your front wheel on their rear wheel and it's seen, you are always going to be held responsible for that, whatever happens.
Oh, it's raining. It started raining.
Even more interesting now.
Oh, now this could change things completely because it started raining again. And don't forget, everybody's on slick tyres. Anything can happen from here. And as Hudson moves back into the lead in front of Pettit. Now there is the under investigation again from Jonathan Hoggard. Now let's not forget that if he is excluded from this race, he will lose his chance to go to the World Finals. He's in 3rd position. He's managed to break away from the pack. So this is actually good for Hoggard because the wet conditions means he can now charge forward. He seems to do very well in the wet, John Hoggard. He's a very talented young kid. And this is where his experience actually in indoor circuits comes into play. The indoor circuits can be incredibly slippery on those marble floors. You learn a lot in those situations. And here he's actually got a similar scenario to deal with.
really posh indoor circuits.
Yeah, really
that
posh.
You go to, Jake, with marble floors.
Well, there you go, round the outside. A great move from Pettit. You wouldn't be able to do that in the dry. He goes right round the outside of Hudson, and look, it's really raining now. Jonathan Hoggard's closing up, but it's academic. He's going to be excluded. Jonathan Hoggard, this is a disaster. His chance to go for the championship. He goes for second position. He won't have seen this yet. This is going to be heartbreaking. He's going to come across the line in whatever position he ends up in, and he will be excluded. He could cross the line in first position, and it's all over. Joe Turney is the 2016 champion. It is such a shame. He's worked so hard all year. Look at the rain coming down. It's going to be Pettit, I think, who holds on, unless he falls off in the final couple of corners. Hoggard has done his best. It's unfortunate he got in the incident he did. It's not deliberate, but it's happened anyway. He comes through for second. He will notice that he's going to be excluded, and it's all academic anyway, and it looks as though a very unhappy Hudson is frustrated, but Joe Turney is victorious. He's done it, and he is the champion whatever happens. Even without the exclusion, it would have just been enough. Pettit wins from Hudson, Foster, Kimber, Chesterton and Turney, thanks to the exclusion for John Hoggard. It's not a great way to end it, but Turney's the champion.
From qualifying, when you had your lap disallowed, starting at the back of the heats, did you think you'd get to this point?
No, not really. I think it was very hard to do.
I mean, it was spectacular all the way. You had the championship on one hand, and, you know, talk us through how you managed to get ahead of Rory, your teammate, there at the end. It was a thrilling battle.
Yeah, we pushed away through most of the race, and at the end it began to rain. So Rory went defensive, but obviously he was on the rubber, so I could just go around the outside of him.
That could have been so different if the rain had come a lap earlier. But Joe Turney is the Super 1 champion at Junior Rotax, and deservedly so after a magnificent campaign throughout the 2016 season. Good luck to him in 2017 and at the World Finals. Next up, it's the OK Senior Championship as they wrap things up in fantastic style as Bobby Game goes for victory on home turf.
This is Super 1, the British Karting Championships, Round 9.